that lockdown, the Everfrost and the Charm, the combo is so damn strong. Revenge still trying to catch up to Summit, but again, he won't find him. Jojo after him again.
Oh, no.
Summit escapes again, and once more. Summit with the outplay. This time it's a 2-0. Poor JJ with a pulverize, trying to stay alive, but now Summit's ready to drop the counter strike, and he finds a stun on the 3 Magnus for a minute to follow it up. The Rel is locked everybody down, and Team Liquid is moving him over. Yawn's to the back line, a triple kill over to Summit. They want to follow up on the last 2, and Yawn's got the Void Seeker. EG crumble.
얘들 라인전
와우.
얘들 라인전
Good
막았어.
Summit.
내가 먹을게. 얘들 라인전 좀 막았네?
와우.
나이스. 뭐야. 너무 잘했고.
That was the end of the series.
Welcome to
Nothing more to see there.
Once Summit got the revenge kill, over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Summit did take over those games, so
Makes
true to
sense.
life.
Fair to me.
We'll pull up some more highlights from yesterday, but obviously, it's kind of a shocker, right? Not. I don't think it's like super surprising based on expectations for TL, but in terms of seeing EG go out like this, with how well JoJo was playing all split, I think this was kind of a big surprise.
It was a big surprise to me. I actually was the one that predicted 3-1 in EG side. I thought it was not going to be that big of a contest because I expected Revenge to play as well as he did during the regular season where he was able to somewhat neutralize top lane or get an advantage if he was to call attention from jungle. And I expected it to be actually a big mismatch mid lane, but that wasn't the case. APA actually played really well through in this series, and Summit stomped. That to me was the biggest story. So a big shocker, and it feels extra bad for Evil Geniuses because they were able to somewhat claw it back off of a win and a competitive second game, or at least it could have went to 5 games. But yes, big congratulations for TL for winning this series on that one.
Yeah, I think Summit's having incredible playoffs. Both of the series wins that they've had, he has been the player of the series, and he hasn't had as many oopsie kind of side lane random deaths in these as it feels like has happened in the regular season.
Game feels like it's ending earlier than mid-late game, so you can't give him the chance.
It's closer to laning phase, right?
True.
So he just, I mean, they did call out, I know on cast, like there were a surprisingly fewer amount of ISO deaths from Summit, and that talking to APA afterwards, he did agree that they were able to make a lot more off of his pressure, right? And he did feel like their coordination had improved. Looking ahead, we know the teams that are left. We're going to take a look at who is your playoff super team.
Oh,
There's 5 teams left. Raz,
let's do it.
you get the pen.
Yep.
Raz gets
Raz.
the pen.
So
Why does
this
Raz
is
get the pen?
similar.
Hey, my
said
right
he wanted
arm
the
is
pen.
still my dominant arm.
We're being nice to him,
Yeah,
huh?
so
'Cause he's injured?
we
Thank
did the
you.
$15 game. This is like a simplified version of the $15 game. The only rule is we can't have 2 players from the same team.
Yes.
And we're trying to make the very best team. This
It
is
has to
pretty
be one
hard.
from each.
Yeah, see, the struggle is you only get one C9 player. So Blabber or Berserker feels like the obvious choice if we're going to start at the top of which C9 player do you want.
I feel like the 80 carry pool is so good that we don't need to go for Berserker. Like Stixxay could
I
really
was
pick up.
actually still
I was
gonna
gonna say the Berserker gap is so big.
I just
Really?
slammed Berserker.
Well, we can do 2 different color teams. Let's do the Berserker team.
All right, let's do the
green team.
Berserker.
The green
The
team.
Berserker stand team is green.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right.
So Berserker,
Do you want to finish green then, or do you want to go?
No, we do a 1 green team and then we'll switch the color for a different team.
Okay.
I agree with
Keep
that.
them both up.
I agree with that.
All right, and then I think you have to go River.
River? Oh, that makes sense to me.
Ah,
That makes sense to me. And if you're going for a support because you can't go for Huhi now,
well, it's got to be core.
it has to be core.
Core JJ is huge value.
All
pick
right, I
there.
know where this goes from here. Palafox and it's Rich.
Dang.
Yeah.
It is.
Kind of just seems like it. Let's just finish it up and see how that goes.
I mean, that's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
That's honestly a pretty good team.
Okay, I have another team in mind.
Palafox is
switch
going to
the
have
color,
the
switch the
APA
color.
experience. He's going to have an APA experience. How does he go?
Are you doing a Blabber team or just a,
Oh, yeah,
an
actually,
alternate Berserker?
everyone-
No, you
Just
you guys can
speaking
try and guess
Korean.
what my team's going to be.
No,
All right.
you just tell us.
No, you'll guess.
What?
Give me Sven.
Okay.
Okay.
You're trolling already.
What?
It's even Sven said he never picks Sven
Yeah.
as the only C9 player.
True.
He's pretty self-deprecating.
Okay, let's keep going.
Give me Dokla.
You're
Yoshik.
doing the anti-team.
No, Pioshik. I guess it has to be Stixxay than Gore. Stixxay than Jensen.
Okay. Stixxay Jensen.
It's the content team.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, they'd be good in content.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my God. Okay,
Wow.
Raz,
Mr. Delta Fox here.
Let's go yellow and
They
make a
would be
blabber
good
team.
at content. I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
gonna,
like a
I'm not
blabber
gonna
team.
argue.
It was hard for if I should do Palafox or Dokla, but I went for
Okay.
Dokla.
So this one's gonna be,
So I still think the blabber team has Core JJ. I see Core JJ as like the value.
yeah, I'm going to highlight this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So he's on.
And let's throw blabber in there as well.
Blabber.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
And
we
I
need
think this
blabber on
team
the
is
team.
probably FBI,
Ooh, even better. Okay.
right?
Yep.
Fibby's been
Yeah.
pretty good.
But now the question is, do we go APA Licorice or do we go
You can't
Gory?
go APA.
you have to go Jensen.
Because we already have
Four.
CL. Never
It's
mind.
Yeah,
Jensen,
four.
Jensen
Oh, yeah.
Licorice or Gory
This
Rich?
must be very easy for people at home to follow. I just realized that the circles.
It's very clear. There's 3 colored circles, and you just
Yeah,
you know.
these are alternate teams.
Okay, perfect. I like it.
Licorice Jensen or Gory Rich is really hard, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's mix it up. Let's go Gory.
Licorice Jensen.
Let's do liquor. We have
Licorice is first team top.
yes.
Yes.
We need
Just
to give
because he
some
lost one playoff series.
Well,
No,
he
it's not-
He also performed well in that series.
And then
I
Jensen.
thought.
Yeah.
Because Jensen never misses Worlds.
We must highlight
There
this.
we go.
I like it.
Nice.
The people
I like
at
all
home
of
are going to
these.
be like, "What is going on?"
Blue's the best.
That one
Might
guy
not
that's
win the
coming back is like,
championship.
The blue mark.
You'll
the blue
make
Our
team.
some
post-game
fire
interviews are going to be great for the blue team. If we win too, Piotric's doing his little dance.
I would say for green team,
I think green team is.
I want to do one team round. Oh, it's gone.
it's gone.
Boo,
Yeah.
Jack doesn't.
Okay.
Boo, oh, they brought it back
Come
up.
on,
I wanna do
Production is
one.
doing
They had
that
pity
thing
for
where
you.
they're, like,
I want to
playing
make
us out.
I just want to make a gory team because I think we jumped over gory too quickly. So I'm still doing
You
this.
almost fell. You almost broke your arm again.
Let's not talk about it.
I'm highly
And
concerned
then-
for you, Russ.
Then I think I'll do rich contracts. I think this team is actually pretty good still.
This is a very good team.
That is the only thing I'll say about that is that it's a very volatile top side.
Oh yeah.
Like
that's why we
they,
love 'em.
they are
That's why we
either
like 'em.
smashing, they're either smashing you early with like weird counter matchups and like contracts jungle pathing, or they're inting.
Or are they getting
Yeah.
Cassante flipped into tower about 3
Yeah,
times?
I mean,
exactly.
people should also say who they think would win between all the teams we circled. If you like played them against each other.
I think green team wins. Still.
It's such an interesting
don't
game
know.
because it's like you need to not only decide who like the best player on a team is, you're balancing it against
The pool of
Yeah.
available.
the pool of available players in the role.
And I think the takeaway for me is that there are so many viable teams because a lot of their players right now are just performing in playoffs.
It's the top 5,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Top
like-
half of the league.
Like in the regular season specifically, like a player, just to use an example, FBI, like wasn't seen highly, but like playoffs, he is really
Did
performing.
you know FBI led the LCS in kills
Boom.
for the regular season?
I did not actually.
We never like kills are obviously dictated by like game time.
But it's still a fun fact to know.
weirdly-
It's like
it
a
is a good
weirdly
fact.
very undervalued. It's become an undervalued stat because we kind of, I mean, with Berserker first team not having good stats, we kind of like ignored 80 carry stats this split because we know Berserker's so good.
Says who? I didn't do that.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't ignore stats. That's you. That's a you problem, not me.
Of course.
I mean, I think Berserker's the best
The
80
best
carry,
carry.
Yeah.
even if his stats don't necessarily say so. But yeah, I don't know. It's just fun fact.
I want to go over team expectations
Mm-hmm.
because obviously I feel like we have in our heads like, oh, GG are heavily favored, et cetera, et cetera. I want to review how we thought of these teams
Right.
throughout the split.
I don't remember. I plead the fifth.
Do you not remember your power rankings?
Yeah.
Because
Don't remind me.
GG were like unanimously 8th.
Yeah.
Like they started there, right? And then I feel like they even went lower than that.
Because they had the 0-4
because
start.
they had the 0-4 start. I'm kind of trolling with where this is. And then
They went on
up,
7 in a row.
Yeah, went down, went up. At MSI, I feel like they hit their like peak expectation, right? Like people thought that they performed better than C9 at MSI despite losing to C9.
Yeah.
I think solely based on the BLGC.
Yeah,
a little higher.
I need to retcon that MSI prediction. I understand you're correct with the expectations, but I still think C9 had a better MSI than
They literally
Jen and I have
beat
talked about this a
GG.
lot.
Yeah, no, we have argued this. I'm just talking about like expectations,
Agreed,
community sentiment, right? We
the
come
community
into
that's
summer,
wrong.
yeah, and I feel like
They were pretty solid
They're
most
pretty
of
high,
summer.
right? Like
Yeah.
they dipped a little bit, I think, and then
Then
kind
they
of
beat
went
C9
up.
in the regular season.
This is
Yeah.
where like the 10 wins is, I guess.
Right, they broke through their curse, went to 13.
Yeah,
wins.
and then the question I want to ask you is, now that we're at now,
How much has it gone
have
down?
they dipped based on that playoff series?
Oh, they for
Yeah, they're
sure
middle.
did.
Like
they're
they're
middle.
like here.
I think they're, yeah.
Oh, that's a
Okay.
stock market crash.
I mean, listen, if they lose to Dig today, they're going right back to where they started.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Weirdly, Dig, for people that remember, started at like a universal like 6th
Yeah.
in
There's
in
no way
preseason
Jensen,
expectations.
Arma, and Santorin.
And then they started losing, and then it was, and then they stayed here. And then at summer they got a little bump because
Rich, MVP Rich.
they started at like 8th, like going into the split, right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like they trended a little bit up. They got back to like the 5th, 6th, and then dipped.
Yeah.
Ended at 7th, and then now
TSM.
beating TSM. Where does that put them?
Probably
Exactly
like-
even with Golden Guardians because they're
Not
playing them
exactly
today.
even.
Exactly even because
I
they're
don't think so. but they're
Romantically
about there.
touching.
There we go.
They could cross
This
today.
ended up looking kind of cursed, but
I think that's
I just
pretty
thought it was
accurate.
fun because
Yeah.
we all forget that we actually all placed Dig higher in spring than GG, who was universally with every single power ranking at 8th.
Well, and I think there's some truth to like the experience that they have. I think one thing EG didn't have was very much experience in best of 5.
Yeah.
So that's why it felt a little bit like they kind of busted out for EG because they didn't feel like they had anyone to like rely on. JoJo was the biggest shot caller. He's only in his 2nd year, whereas like you have 6 or 7 years of experience from most of the guys on this team.
I also got to say, EG had a good summer split, bad playoffs.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, this is comboing with Emily's point.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay.
It's about how do we actually evaluate summer split success, because I think we underappreciate how compressed the regular season was.
Oh boy,
this
is
is
this
a lot
Jazz
of
stats?
noise. Let me walk you through it.
This looks cursed.
Dig didn't have that much time to practice. The regular season was 6 weeks long. Typically with that schedule, you'll only get 3 scrim days per week because 3 are match days, which would be a total of 18 scrim days. And also Poom came in like week 4.
Yeah.
So they had like 9 scrim days overall with Poom the entire year. So like the entirety of the summer split, even if they didn't make a roster change, they'd have about 18 scrim days, 18 match days, and 6 days off. Now let's look at what they're actually able to do in the postseason. So the end of the regular season was on July 21st. They had 1 day off. They can then do 6 scrim days in a row, take another off day. They can do 4 more scrim days, 10 scrim days before their one game, take another day off, 5 scrim days before this. They would literally have 15 scrim days since the end of the split versus the regular season. This would actually be 6 more scrim days than they had with Poom throughout the regular split. So in terms of figuring out how good a team could be, I think the summer split is weirdly unreliable because they've had so much more actual time to practice since the regular split ended to now than they did in the entirety of the split. So like when we think about how good Dig could be, I think again you kind of look at the roster on paper and think of what their peak would be, and that's how you can evaluate it. I think that's true with EG. We're like, yeah, this team's not going to be good, but they clicked right away. But then as the split continued, it's more about the way that we saw the team maybe as some of their parts rather than how they performed. So I think there's a decent chance Dig surprises people today.
I like that. And I feel like we hear that from players, it feels like every year, in which when they go into the playoffs, it's like, oh, we've had enough. Like, we've had way more time in our best of 5 games and off scrims.
It's just because the way the schedule works. You get so much practice time. You can add champions to your pool that you were unable to do throughout the split.
Yeah.
That's why you see so many weird picks in playoffs. Because you just, a little bit of like craziness of practice. You just want to try different stuff. But
And a small thing too, you know what's funny is that like a lot of the times you don't even get the chance in those scrims during the regular season to tackle fundamental problems because you'll have like the one day before the stage days where it's like, no, we're just going to practice what we're going to play no matter what. So yeah.
Counter argument, my team one time got a bye in playoffs and we didn't play a stage game for basically 2-3 weeks actually,
so
because there was a gap week and then there was a week where we didn't play in playoffs because we had the bye.
So you actually had like 20 days off.
We had about 20 days off and we tried to cook some shit up during that and it fell flat in our face and we ended up worse than if we just kept playing in a weekly cadence.
So another reason that you have no idea what's going to happen to come play.
True.
Boom.
It's not all roses to have more time together. Be like, what are we doing? We're chain losing scrims with no stage games. This feels terrible.
Sounds like an excuse, Mark.
I'm just saying other things can happen though than like up and to the right, you know?
Oh yeah,
That was going to be my point. Is like I've definitely seen teams who get like too either lost in the sauce or they see something that happened in like LPL and LCK the night before and they're like, guys, we got to change our draft prep.
I saw Jensen though. Asked him how he was. He
Oh,
said,
the
You
Jensen
ran
check.
into
How
him in
are
the
we?
bathroom?
so he said good.
Yeah.
The exact same answer as last week.
Perfect.
Then when I asked like, really how he's like better than last week.
Oh!
But did
Last week he beat TSM.
Look at happy!
But Jack, did he know this was a thing?
Jazzed.
Because he might be mind gaming you. He might know that this is a thing now.
Do you think Jensen watches us?
Yes.
No.
I think he religiously rewatches the broadcast to hear his name.
He cares deeply about his legacy.
I mean, I think he does care about his legacy.
Not about us.
I can also think he doesn't care as much about the broadcast. In facing Dig, we actually had a chance to catch up with Licorice, so we're going to hear from him before talking about the top lane matchup.
We play Dig next. They might be like a pretty good team to play against, so I think that we'll have to like take them seriously. I think Rich is a really good player, so like I think top lane will be difficult, and I expect like kind of a battle from both sides. But I'm sure if we play well, we'll win.
And I actually thought that Licorice, even though Golden Guardians lost, had a lot of really strong plays. I think when people were looking at that series, they were either looking at him or Stixxay as kind of like the main playmakers, where they were trying to drag a lot of these kind of unforced errors that happened in these Golden Guardians games against NRG.
Definitely felt like a lot of the times Dokla was playing mostly weak side, and he was able to get advantages in lane phase and then play pretty well into the mid to late game portions of the game. Licorice is also someone who notoriously watches a lot of LPL. That's why he was doing the Jack spam train.
Yep.
Sure. And the Rumble.
The Blind Jacks, the OMG Shanji Rumble.
Yes. The problem is today, he's not just playing champions inspired by the LPL. He's playing against a top laner who has played in the LPL.
True.
Oh, interesting. Are you
So-
saying this is advantage Rich?
So I'm saying Rich might have some stuff cooking up in the kitchen with all these extra days off, as Jat was saying.
A lot of practice time to learn how Quinn works.
We saw some sneak peek. I'm just saying that LeBlanc top lane.
He lost. Man, he was so good in that game.
He was.
Yeah.
Look at the difference!
Hey!
We've got the LeBlanc, we've got the Alawi.
One's an LPL enjoyer, one's an LPL gamer. There's a difference.
It's so funny to me, like the evolution of Rich just as a player, as someone who is willing to play a lot of these really weird counter matchups, more specifically the Alawi and the Quinn, which I think we've seen less of, even though people know they're strong like lane counter picks. Because again, he used to be this kind of Aatrox one trick where people are like, if he's not on Aatrox, he's not going to do very well. So to see him
There's not even
evolve
Aatrox in
as
there.
a player, there's not even an Aatrox in there. Maybe it'll show up today.
That's gonna
I think
change.
Aatrox is strong.
Rich is going to go Duskblade Aatrox.
He
Guaranteed.
might.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Gore Drinker.
Duskblade.
Oh, yeah.
kill him as
4
quick.
melee champions, 2 tank champions. Duskblade.
If I kill someone, though, I go invulnerable. It negates just as much damage
Yeah,
as Gore Drinker would
It's
give
the
me.
same.
So it's the same thing, the same item.
Yeah.
I can tell Raz disagrees. He's just like, let's.
I don't want to get dragged into the weeds.
We're not talking about Raz. I mean, Rich and Duskblade, two things Raz hates, I think.
This
Oh
is
my
absolutely why
God.
Raz is predicting Golden Guardians
Yeah.
is the Rich hate.
And his previous history with the org.
We don't have time. We don't have time for him to defend himself. Let's keep it going.
Crazy.
One thing I think that was kind of surprising was the Gory River combo kind of falling flat in the face of Contracts and Palafox. And it has been really interesting to see other mids going up against Palafox and kind of falling short. We expect Gory to be such an instrumental part of GG's success, and he didn't look as strong in their NRG series.
I think it's in due part to there's a bit of a catch-up effect from teams around them that recognize how strong they are, and not necessarily the timings, because River will mess that up with some of his gank timings, just for basically not farming as frequently. And other teams are just getting better. I thought Palafox and Contracts in this series were on the same page. Yesterday, I thought that we saw the same from Pyosik and his lanes. So the thing that Gory and River had near exclusivity on and how well they played alongside each other was being challenged by other teams.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a terrible series by any means, but you can see that a lot of his numbers were basically cut in half. So
Sure.
his KDA went down, his CSD went down. Normally he's arguably right up there with JoJo as best mid laner in the league. pretty ineffective. His actual deaths as well. It's not just like, oh, he didn't get as many kills. He didn't get as many kills, but he also died way more often, as you saw in those replays. They did a really good job targeting him. And we talk about the mid-jungle support core of Golden Guardians roaming around the map, making plays happen. If you're going to cut the head off of any of those like three-headed beasts, it's Gory, I think, who can actually cause the other two to have less plays to make. Like if you hold Huhi deck, River and Gory can still make things happen. River's just, as a jungler, hard to target as much. So I do think, Gory having a tough series made it an angle for NRG to win.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you talked about the trio that goes through mid, often on Golden Guardian side. And I've been seeing playoffs from not just LCK, and LCS, and LPL, where it's just 6 people mid. Like, it's just, a lot of times, if one support
the
moves...
parties are greatly reduced.
Yes.
It's mid-party.
It's a mid-party now. And so you're not going to just expect that it's going to be Huhi mid. You're going to get an early roam from Poom as well. I feel like right now what we were expecting from Golden Guardians, they don't have really a monopoly on anymore. So that's going to be the challenge. And during the regular season, there were games where I felt like Gory wasn't taking the pressure from enemy teams seriously as he was going on side lanes and then getting picked. Where he's like, oh, I mean, that's just going to happen. Where I think he's definitely cleaned up on it. And a message from Stixxay after the loss they had in the NRG series that they just expected to win. And when you come in, and
it's dangerous.
Even though you're saying we're taking the opposing team seriously, like if you're just not as clean because you're expecting a much worse team, you are going to look worse and tilt easier. So if it happened versus NRG, who are definitely giant killers and also just the top team in the league, you cannot have those moments versus Dignitas.
Yeah, and I think one thing you did mention is Huhi kind of being one of the foremost roaming supports in the league. So prior to this, I figured we'd do another Draw My Life, draw my LCS and OGN Champions Life, Huhi. Che Huhi Jae-hyun got his professional start in 2014 on Big File Miracle as a mid laner where he was teammates with CoreJJ. After stints on Cuvic Esports and Team Fusion, Huhi joined CLG in 2015 as the substitute mid laner for Pobelter. Huhi then became CLG's starting mid in 2016 and was a key part of their spring success, which included another LCS title for CLG and an MSI Finals appearance. In mid, Huhi became known for his side laning prowess and mastery of Aurelion Sol. He was one of the first pioneers of kind of this roam to side style in the LCS. Then in the summer of 2019, after some time with 100 Thieves, Huhi joined Golden Guardians and role swapped to support. After a stronger than expected finish in 2020, he rejoined 100T for 2021. In 2021, Huhi became the first ever player to win an LCS title in 2 different roles. Now back on Golden Guardians, Huhi is actually trying for his 4th Worlds appearance on a 3rd different LCS organization. Another player who is looking for a historic Worlds appearance, it would be his 9th. He already has set the record at 8 consecutive, is Jensen, and he had a few words on that and his legacy here.
I mean, I didn't go into the series thinking TSM was or anything, but it got a bit closer than it should have been. I mean, to be honest, I kind of expected Golden Guardians to beat NRG, so I'm a bit surprised we're facing them. I think GGS is a pretty good team. They have a really solid core in River and Gory. I think they play pretty well together. I mean, to me, it's just kind of another match, and Golden Guardians is just another team I have to beat in order to get back to Worlds. Game on, Golden Guardians.
But he goes Jensen the flag, the shuffle, and it's all over. Now Tomo jumps in with a killer instinct. There's the Acacia raid, and when it rains, it pours. Still has his flash. Let's see if he can get away. Shockwave, they bring it. And Jensen's got another kill.
I love the 2 streaks on the line, because Huhi not only has trying to get 4 Worlds through different teams, he also has been to the last 3 straight or 4 straight finals. He's trying to get to his 5th. He went to 3 in a row with 100 Thieves, went to Golden Guardians, made another finals. So he's trying to get to his 5th straight. Jensen, as you said, trying to get to his 9th straight World. So something's going to break today. One of the 2.
Yeah, and speaking of streaks, Mark.
What is that?
Mark!
I record this for the regular season when no one's paying as much attention.
Oh, the eyes are here today.
Trotting it out before playoff season.
Jensen
You're gonna get
has
the channel banned.
a massive streak going on.
Someone report this to Twitch. Jensen taken down.
The last time Jensen didn't make it to Worlds was 2014. Now, we went over this last week. Here's a reminder of the things that were true the last time Jensen wasn't at Worlds. TSM was handing Samsung, at the time, its only Worlds loss. They went on to lose another one. Germany beat Brazil 7-1 in the World Cup semifinals. Happy was the top song. Twitch Plays Pokemon came out, and also the Ice Bucket Challenge, if you remember that. But because he still has the streak alive, we had to add to the things that have
is this
There
gonna
it is.
every series he wins, he's gonna get another full screen?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Azir came out in 2014?
Yes.
Wow.
And how iconic it is? Mr. Beast only had 1.8 thousand subscribers.
What the hell is
Worlds.
2048?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
It's that block game where you turn a 2 into a 4 into an 8 into a 16 into a 3, 2.
What?
Try and get the block.
Of
to
all the
2048.
things on here,
Yeah,
that
what?
is
I might still have that on my phone.
that just makes you a boomer. That doesn't mean it was a
We know who put together these stats.
yeah. That block game was like mid. Mr. Beast being at 1.8K is pretty crazy.
It was the free version of the threes game, which made a 3 into a 6 into a 9. It's kind of the same concept.
Oh.
Jensen also got LASIK in 2022.
Yeah, he went through his
So he's
glasses
even
era,
more focused than before.
his
Oh,
glasses
there it
era,
is.
and then
Good
now
call.
he's in his not glasses era.
He got laser shot into his eyes. In the future, he'll shoot them out himself. He's upgrading. He's a cyborg.
You'll never miss Worlds if you just never miss your shot. The enemy mid.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't field another mid.
His assistant coach,
yeah.
Sven Skaren, also former teammate, is confident. Razzy's also responding to you
Yeah.
with randomly just saying Jensen's going to Worlds.
Yeah, I was like asking a question about Instagram. I was like, okay, guys, anyone like just planning Instagram posts? He's like, did you know Jensen will never miss Worlds? I was like, all right, Sven.
It's his new Live Evil.
Standing up for his mid laner.
Yeah, he is. Trying to get the word out there.
Jensen is also only 3 wins away from passing Doublelift for 4th all time. We have a lot of
Yeah.
players who are still in the league who are kind of jockeying over this position.
It was Turtle as well was in there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if he wins today, he'll have the title. Doublelift's not in
Yeah.
the playoffs, and then so he'll be able to keep growing on it.
He'll
There you go.
surpass him for 4th. Who you guys got?
This
I'm
is a tough
interested
one.
in this one. Yeah, I'm
It
look,
shouldn't be
it's
tough,
a
but
big
it became
struggle.
tough.
What?
It's very easy. I agree. It became not tough as soon as I heard the Jensen news.
Wow, Raz. Actually, Raz's
Raz is
prediction
3-0, so
surprises
he's
me the
hard
most.
Golden Guardian.
Because I'm not including Mark because he's trolling, but Raz, you
Am I?
3-0 GG. After
Do I have to
last
explain
week.
it?
I'm
did
surprised.
lose their
I'm
last
surprised people are surprised at Raz. I thought there'd be a bunch of 3-0s on this board.
Yeah.
I just don't think Golden Guardians are a clean team.
They've been clean all year. They had one bad series against NRG where NRG played very, very well. People lost all their faith.
Yeah, NRG
I
has
would
been
push back
taking.
against them being a clean team all year.
Maybe
They have been. Look, at that point, we're just going to critique every team in the league. But like, Golden Guardians were a clean team of being able to secure their leads that they had. They had one bad series versus a team that literally took wins off the top teams throughout the regular season. So that even wasn't a surprise. I'm surprised about you.
Raz is losing his mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised. I don't want to be
Raz is ready
gaslit.
to come across the couch.
I'm just being gaslit the
saying.
entire time.
I'm just saying, last week I was predicting TSM, and then I got good vibes from Jensen.
You got good vibes
and I
again.
switched it. You're saying every game's a mid party.
Yes.
Gory and River have been dominant all split, but not last week. And when Jensen is locked in, I don't think there's anyone in NA that's better. So if he's in that mode, he could actually pull himself to Worlds.
And to throw this in, we haven't even talked about MVP Rich, the greatest top laner.
So
Oh
in
Mark
my
is
God.
trolling.
Hots Faker.
Okay.
This like
Hots Faker is good. You saw the counter picks. He has
this
way
will
more.
be to me Jensen's
losing my
most
mind.
impressive Worlds performance if he can do it.
Yes.
This
For
is-
a reason. So why did you say you're just expecting
I
it?
believe in Jensen. I know he can find the zone.
Yeah, as a team,
All right.
there's going to be a bit of a difference in the 80 carry position. 6A's playing insanely well.
He is very good.
Interesting prediction set from all of you. We'll see what happens. Time to actually get to the games.
Hello and welcome to the LCS. I'm Azael here with Mark. Kobe is unfortunately away for the Divecast, so we only have 2/3 of the Divecast, but here we have the teams arriving at the show day. Golden Guardians trying to get back towards their winning ways. It's the second seed, was almost the first seed, but they are now here facing elimination against Dignitas, which would be, I think, a pretty monumental upset, though not according to you.
No, not at all. I think Dignitas with Rich is obviously going to take it down. Kobe is not here, unfortunately, to debate me because just look at that. Maybe he'll show up later. We're not sure.
Yeah, show up later.
Game 4, Game 5.
Doing the divies.
Yeah.
He'll come in.
Start handing out awards. He's like, ooh, I got to be here for that.
He's like, oh, wonder if this is one for me.
Yeah, we'll see if he'll show up. But actually, not. I heard he got a little sick, so unfortunately missing out on a dive TriCast, so it's just Azael and I to hold it down. You'll be back on play-by-play.
We'll see if I remember.
We'll see this time if I point at you. There's literally no one else up here. You know it's your turn to talk.
Let's hope.
we hope so. And it's going to be a good series, I think. Dignitas at the 7th seed looked a lot better than they did in the regular season when they took down TSM.
Yep.
It was nice to see some of the improvements that they made. And for Golden Guardians, kind of the opposite, where it was a surprise that they dropped those games to NRG. And not just that they dropped them, but it was a 3-1 and pretty... You know, it was back and forth. There were some games that had 5K leads, but they didn't really get that close to winning at like Nexus some of those games or anything.
No, I mean, I think the only person who was really a standout for Golden Guardians in that series was Licorice. I thought Licorice was playing amazing, but the rest of the team really does have to step up. I think that River and Gory had a bit of an off series. They have been one of the most powerful jungle mid duos in the league, but didn't really show up in their last series. In Golden Guardians, there's high expectations for this team. They need to win here to try to keep the championship hopes alive, to try to get towards Worlds. A win here would put you in top 4, would guarantee you at least a shot at going to Worlds with that 4th versus 4 qualifier, NA versus EU, that will obviously happen later on before Worlds. So, you know, a loss here, I think, especially for Golden Guardians, would be such an upset after having such a successful spring, making it towards MSI, an amazing summer regular season as well.
And you kind of heard, we talked about at the top of the waiting room, it was one of the first series where they gone in as the favorites and had a different mindset where they've always been kind of the perennial underdogs. And even in this series, now as a favorite, but in a dangerous position, having more pressure than I think this team might have ever had in the best of 5, where there are real legitimate fan and even their own expectations on their shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see the different priorities in the draft today.
Yeah.
Tristana, you know, is not going to actually make it through picks and bans at all in the early round here. It is going to get banned out in that first phase. Yesterday, Tristana and Kai'Sa were both being left up, but they were being traded back and forth in that series. And it is going to be a Renekton here, blind for Licorice. So high prio on that Renekton. He had been playing a tremendous amount of Jax, so I had been curious to see, you know, was he going to be going towards that Jax? Instead, it will be Licorice back towards the Renekton. A big comfort pick for him throughout these last couple of years, especially in spring. He was playing a tremendous amount of it. But it is going to be K'Sante locked in as well for Rich.
And we get to see a pretty standard matchup out of the top laners right now. They are both willing to get crazy, but I like for game 1 trying to be a little bit more standard. K'Sante is generally considered Rich's best champion. Renekton considered one of the strongest top laners in the meta right now, and I feel like a lot will come down to who's getting the better of them and kind of forces the other one to blink first in the standard picks.
I think it is really interesting, though, because Licorice had such a standout performance in their last series. You know, I think the other side of the coin is maybe give him something that he can carry on more. Maybe give him something that he has that additional agency on. He's going to be going up against not just the K'Sante from Rich, but also the Sejuani here from Santora, and that pairing I think is going to make his life difficult. Ziggs getting banned away here by Golden Guardians has been a pick that has been, again, rising in prio. I think APA came in, really showed people that this pick can have a lot of power. Have been seeing it a little bit more in the LCS since then, both mid and bot. But Dignitas double banning 80 carries here, taking away the Zeri as well as the Ezreal. They already banned out Xayah in that first phase, or excuse me, took the Xayah. They banned away the Kai'Sa. Tristan has been banned out. So a lot of picks are getting denied here, but we still have things like Aphelios, like Varus up and available.
Yeah, the Ziggs was a nice splash that we saw out of Dignitas in their series versus TSM and showed that there's a little bit more flexibility to this team than initially appeared. And Tomo was someone who stepped up and had a pretty good series. We've seen flashes of great play out of him. As we see. Okay. The Azir versus Xerath matchup. We actually saw this again from Insanity playing into Dignitas, and it looks like Jensen said, that was pretty annoying. Tomo was like, I had to dodge a lot of skill shots. I did not have fun, and so they're going to slap this one down. We'll see what they want to play into here. There's a lot of the common marksman band out who would have some level of mobility.
Yeah, it's also really interesting because, you know, we only haven't seen that Xerath versus Azir, I think, once in this split, but yesterday it actually caught a ban after Azir was locked in. The Xerath did get banned out, so people are clearly starting to play it in scrims. Now we're going to get to see it showcased here once again. Aphelios going to be locked in, and now we find out, is it jungle rel? Is it support rel heal here for Golden Guardians? Still have that flexibility. I'm kind of expecting it to go towards River, and that Huhi would be locking in a different support, but he's absolutely equipped to play that rel, has been really good on it. I do think secondary engage would be really nice for the team, but it's going to be Nocturne coming in, so a little bit of physical damage for the team.
It feels like a
dive as well.
An answer, yeah, and dive to the Xerath, who's going to become very immobile. And as soon as he kind of puts himself in place, if you have vision on him, you can just drop that ult. It blacks out his ults as well. So it's annoying for him to try and land these follow-ups on dark targets. You don't even necessarily need to go in, so it is a bit of a soft counter in that sense, as well as if you do have flanks and you are going in with the rel, you can obliterate the Xerath. So a very interesting kind of answer out of River that I don't know if they prepped that or just came up with that on the spot.
Yeah, it is interesting. River coming through with the Nocturne. Obviously, the Xayah going to be tough to dive, but you called it out. The Xerath likely will be the target. We don't have any of those super common pairings that you would have with the Nocturne, though. It's not Nocturne Kennen. There's not like a Rakan or something that can really easily dive super deep. Obviously, Huhi can engage, Licorice can flank, and then you can try to go in. But Aphelios cannot follow up on it. Azir can't really follow up on it that easily.
It feels like both comps are kind of patchwork, where it's like someone did threw a wrench in the game plan, and then both people like overreacted to it in some sense, where like Golden Guardians have some dive, but their backline doesn't really match that. Where for Dignitas, they have this one poke tool in Xerath, and then the rest is actually kind of engaged in a Xayah who wants to be pretty safe as other people dive into them. So it's about kind of adapting to these weirder compositions that if you look at scrim data that you played over the last week, I bet 0 of them played these exact compositions versus another comp like this.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm going to be interested to see which one ends up working out better, because I kind of agree. It feels almost like you're so focused on an answer to an individual champion that maybe you lose sight of what your composition needs, right? Nocturne coming through maybe as an answer to the Xerath. You know, the Xayah coming through as an answer to some of the dive. You know, all these different pieces. We'll see if they can work well together. All right, we are on to the Rift here. Game number 1, Golden Guardians versus Dignitas, a lower bracket affair. And Huhi already sneaking into the brush, and now Poom is spotted. I don't think there was any pings onto him, so I don't think they saw Huhi. I don't think Poom was actually far enough up to have that vision. So there is a possibility if they can bait him forward to get something to happen. But while we wait for any action to unfold, we do have Raz on the sideline with Dignitas' coach, Enetron.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We got Enetron right here. First question for you is, you have a lot of scrim days now in the playoffs in comparison to the regular season. How much of a help was it for you guys?
I think it helped us a lot creating a team identity better. It helped us a lot to increase our champion pools. So 3 weeks for us at least, it was really good. We saw on TSM better, and now I feel like we're also confident going into the series today too.
That makes sense. Feels like you guys are evolving as throughout the playoffs too. We have a Xerath pick here. Reminds me of the TSM game you had.
Yeah.
Just can you tell me about the Xerath pick for you guys, and also just like any surprises from the Golden Guardians draft?
I guess we learned the hard way through TSM, but despite that, we feel like we need to have more answers. It's a BO5, so we need to expand our champion pools, as I said before. So the Xerath is probably one of the answers that we have prepared for today. So pretty confident.
Sounds good to me. Thanks a lot. I'll send it back to you guys.
Very interesting to hear. It was indeed Insanity who kind of incepted this pick into their minds. Though they did win that game, it was very annoying and was kind of the thing that was keeping TSM in that final Game 5.
And I will say, Jensen, when they picked it against him, I feel like he's got to be one of the hardest players to play Xerath against, because he has always been, throughout his entire career, known for these kind of micro movements and how good he is actually dodging skill shots. And we'll see how successful he's going to be at actually hitting the skill shots on the other side now.
Yeah, playing the other side of the matchup, nothing's worse than like when you lose, to a pick and you go, oh, that was really annoying, I'm going to play it. And then you play and you're like, wow, this is hard, I don't know what I'm doing. We'll see if he can do it. This was kind of how the lane went as well for Insanity, to be fair. The Xerath counter pick doesn't turn online until you're able to kind of spam your picks more often. He did go Comet instead of First Strike, whereas Insanity was a lot about kind of cheating gold to get to a very early lost chapter to then focus on sustaining in lane and kind of trapping Azir there with you. He has the Comet here.
Yeah, and one of the big powerful things about Comet in lane for Xerath is you just W, that applies to slow. The Comet's always going to be kind of guaranteed to hit with that. We also have to see, can he actually create action in the side lanes, because that is one of the powerful things about a Xerath is you can kind of half roam down towards bot lane or up towards top lane and assist in some of these skirmishes with the long range ultimate. And especially since some of these changes where you're getting the additional charges of it, it is really powerful later on in the game. Like, this pick scales super well. If you are on point with those ultis, you can take someone out of a fight almost entirely.
Yeah, I mean, Tomo himself was chunked out multiple times at the start of fights and had to kind of level up as the game went on, learning how to dodge them effectively, and was able to survive. Didn't get 100-0 in any of those fights in particular, but you saw the potential of that to happen if you're able to land just a couple ultimate procs onto a squishy AD carry. And Aphelios does not have many defensive tools on his side. You know, Red Gun Q can make you go a little bit faster to try and skirt out of a potential long-range snipe.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Santorin's spotted by the ward on the bottom side. Should have full information that River is up on that top side. Both junglers doing full clear, 6 camps in a scuttle, so not a lot of action here early on just yet. It is interesting, though, having Nocturne and Xerath both in the same game. It almost feels like, though the Nocturne can be a good answer, it also works really well as a pick with it, because it is kind of one of those dive tools. And when you look at dive tools here on the Dignitas side, there's really not much of anything, right? You know, maybe the K'Sante can go in the back line, and Xerath can assist in a dive in that way with the ultimate. You know, I could see something like that happening. But I think it could potentially, be difficult to actually kind of have that synergy.
There's not a ton of threat damage. I guess the nice thing is that Xerath can always contribute from kind of over the top. So if you ever do find a lockdown CC chain combo with an Alistar Headbutt Pulve into Sejuani ult and these kinds of things, Xerath doesn't need to follow up with his body. He just shoots over the top and can blow people up. So they do have that threat, but I do agree it's probably going to be a lot about trying to poke him out, force Golden Guardians to engage onto you. Though this is one of the things they do have in their back pocket with Sejuani plus melee topside. It is a potential gank, but nice ward by Licorice. Spotted that one out coming early.
Yeah, spotted them out. It is always a little bit awkward, though. Now, yeah, sure, the jungler is around, but until you see him somewhere else, it can be a little bit difficult to push that in. 6 getting low, but not going to feel too nervous. Doesn't actually cleanse the Ignite, holds on to that. But it is a really good trade for the Dignitas duo, who now will have the push here. And 6A has to be careful about some of these feathers. If you can get another pullback on him, Q into E, he's going to be chunked incredibly low, so they may just have to take a bad base.
Yeah, bad base, but the nice thing is the fact that they saw Santorin up on the top side means that they know there's no threat of a dive potentially coming in here, so going to take that recall on 6A. Doesn't feel great, but like you said, ends up with a summoner advantage and had enough money to just grab Greaves.
Look at this, Gory actually starting with the Merc Treads full buy here, just going towards it, and now the wave is going to get cleared out. Licorice in some trouble, but Rich didn't quite have 6. If he was 6 there for the all-out, could have been the kill, and I thought he might have had the timing, but he didn't quite get it. So Licorice makes the risky move here, going in for the Demolish, is able to get away with it. And on the other side in mid lane, Jensen does have Lost Chapter first buy. Santorin and Poom both behind him, so looking for a potential aggressive play here onto Gory. We'll see if they can find it, but Gory able to sidestep both of those spells and gets a little bit of a trade back.
Yeah, it looks like they were anticipating potential shift in, which is one of the things you obviously can do to the Xerath who's immobile. If he doesn't land his E on your shift in, then he's able to get that combo off, and if Nocturne's around, it's a very easy kill. But Dignitas protected Xerath, and now the wave is pushing back into him.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, if Gory actually dashed in for that, he might have just died, right? Because Poom could just flash in on him, combo him immediately. Sejuani's there as well. So Jensen was positioning very aggressively. It almost felt to me like he was trying to bait him to go on it, stepping so far forward. River, though, just powering towards level 6, does get spotted on that ward, going to start cycling the Raptors. Will be just a couple camps off. Actually, he's going to have it right now after that Raptors, but he should have been spotted so they can have a good idea that he's about to hit level 6 and play a little bit more carefully.
And this is one of the things that we were talking about makes River such an annoying jungler to play against is, yes, he has the J4 level 2 ganks. We might see a jungle dragon tester, excuse me.
I think so. Gory, though, getting chunked out a bit by Jensen, and Jensen wants to try to deny this fight. Tomo moving over, has no 6 though, mind you, on the Xayah, so River would be really threatening if they decide to go for it. We'll see if Golden Guardians wants to make the call. Stixxay is now moving up, but pretty late to the play, and it's going to be an engage here. Nocturne ult pop defensively. They're going to be going in onto Poom. Will force the flash back out. And so it is just a disengaged play there. They get the flash off Poom. They use the ulti from the Nocturne, and they get Dignitas off the Dragon.
Yep, most important thing there is they got the Dragon down. Did cost that first Nocturne ultimate, so while it does get the flash out of Poom, I think for Dignitas, you're kind of happy that that first one doesn't go mid and blow up the Xerath, which is where I was just going with that, where River does do sometimes these power farming focus clears, even though he's known for being an aggressive jungler. When he throws this kind of like mix-up curveball at you where he's just going to power clear on a carry jungle. He actually does play quite well on things like Kindred and here on the Nocturne.
It has the Iron Spike Whip. I'm expecting he's just going to go Stride Breaker. It is pretty standard on the Nocturne these days. You can go full lethality, but it's not really something for pro play, honestly. And though they didn't get the kill with the Nocturne ult, he can now start up the Dragon. They had pushed through bot, tried to actually harass Tomo as he was getting back towards the turret. So will be first Dragon of the game here for Golden Guardians. We'll be feeling pretty good about it, but we'll see how accurately Dignitas can actually track those ulti timers, because the ulti cooldown for Nocturne is super long early on. You know, it's a couple minutes at rank 1 with no CDR, which is where he's sitting. So they can play a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more, you know, up, really, without that ulti being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that interests me from what Dignitas has done in this game 1, as they are trying to get a second neutral objective that Golden Guardians is contesting.
Yeah, should be able to actually get this. Smite is available. River is not there, and no ulti. So Gory pokes forward. Rich should just be able to jump over the wall to him. We'll see if they want to get really aggressive. Rich must not have the E until just now, and now Gory's coming forward. He could look for an angle for the ulti, but Rich is going to go all out, taking Licorice over the wall. Will have to retreat, though, as Gory is here. So it's ulti for ulti. Rich just used it as a taxi service to get out. At the end of the day, trade of ultis. The flash was forced off of Santorin as he was really nervous about Gory coming through there and potentially finding a play. But they do get the Herald and they do get out.
That's the nice thing for them. They did get this neutral objective, but it was an awkward situation where they're like, Licorice is behind us. Can we kill him before the reinforcements come? And eventually they did try that. Weren't able to burst him down, got the ultimate off. And they're like, okay, Gory's coming. Forget this. Let's get out of here. So they do escape. And one of the things I was about to say was they're keeping some of the similar game plan of NRG of attacking Gory, which did feel like a bit of something that they were able to exploit, just holding him down as such a key playmaker for Golden Guardians. But the thing is, NRG's really, really aggressive. Like, their kills per game was insane, through the roof. Combined kills per minute was like well over 1 in some of those games. Dignitas is a much slower paced team, and it kind of, I think, dragged Golden Guardians to these overly scrappy fights, and they weren't thinking as clearly about objective setup and these kinds of things. And I think moving forward, I wouldn't mind if Dignitas tried to pick the pace up. We'll see how this one goes, because they do scale very well. Both teams do. There's no need to play this way, but I do think, and stylistically, it was one of the things that NRG was able to get over on top of Golden Guardians.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't know that Dignitas have the draft to really push the pace. You know, with Sejuani, Xerath, it doesn't
that
exactly
screams
feel
skirmish
like
into me. I don't know about
powerful jungle mid duo.
Everything.
Let's invade.
Every champ can fight as well. I don't know what you mean.
You can, just not well. But we'll see. We'll see if they do want to start picking up the pace around these objectives. At the very least, Dignitas is being proactive. They're the first ones to start up the Dragon. Yes, they got pushed off, but then they go up and they do get the Herald. Licorice has taken 2 plates top. Unfortunately, he based, and the minions finished off that second plate, so I don't believe he actually got gold. I was watching the gold in his pocket, didn't see it go up, so missed out on that plate gold, unfortunately for him, but has created a very slight lead up on that top side, and we'll see if Licorice can really kind of transition that into something more, because I do think Licorice needs to find good angles in these fights to kind of give that dive buddy over to River, because all of a sudden if Licorice can get in the backline and then Nocturne arrives, that becomes incredibly threatening. But if it is just Licorice or if it is just River, I don't think it's going to be really very effective.
No, it's going to be too easy to flash out, have your tanks come peel you. You won't probably have enough damage to 100 to 0 them immediately, so there will need to be someone on Golden Guardians playing follow-up to River. Could be Azir as well, go for scoops and whatnot. Like, he doesn't always have to play simple front to back. You can see Gory having a pretty good time against Jensen around the point where it should becoming more and more Xerath favored as the poke comes in. But even CS, those early Merc Treads, as you called out, seeming to help out both with the damage that you take as well as early move speed. Very, very annoying against champions who rely on skill shots in their lane phase.
Exactly. Tier 2 boots, the move speed, really, really important for that. There's obviously the Xerath stun, there's slows on the W, there's Sejuani lockdown, there's a lot of CC over on this Dignitas team, so Merc Tread's going to be pretty valuable here, and Gory doesn't really want to interact with the Xerath anyway. You know, when you play these kind of matchups where they can poke you out, generally your recourse is to just out-push them and make them deal with the minions. You know, you're just going to hard shove, and he can't sit there poking because all of a sudden the wave is at your tower, and you've got to focus on just getting all that CS. It is a slight lead thus far for Gory, but Dignitas playing through mid here, trying to get control around this. They want to drop the Herald, have this crash, get a little bit of gold here, and they're going to flash in onto Gory. Gory in trouble, but in comes River. Gory is down. It's first blood for Jensen, but in the back line, it's River chopping up Jensen. Going to be able to trade one back, and who he wants more going in with the ulti. Santorin getting locked down, has no flash from earlier. Will be able to queue over the wall to escape. At the end of the day, it's a 1-for-1, but Jensen gets the first blood, and they do get the crash with the Herald. So So slight advantage to Dignitas thus far. We just have to see, can Golden Guardians actually farm some plates?
Yeah, it looks like they might be able to get one back here with Stixxay having rotated mid. During that time, Tomo shoved in bot. And all this is going on as Dragon's spawning in 20 seconds. So both teams are going to res and probably rush straight back there. Actually, 2 plates going to Stixxay. Very nice little cash in for him. This fight would have gone so much better for Dignitas if they were able to kill Gory before he gets his ultimate off. His corpse basically summons this wall to push the side of Dignitas back. Look at this. He's dead. You don't even see the animation.
From the
Right
grave,
there.
baby.
From the grave. Knocks the people back who would have peeled Jensen potentially here, who maybe then could have had his flash up and gotten out and flashed away from this and maybe gets turned around a little bit as he keeps poking from a safer position. But the fact that they did get that kill allowed the Stixxay rotation to come in and equalize that play. So it ends up being pretty much net equal. The 500 gold lead that they had still there.
It was interesting to me as well that Jensen elected not to flash. River used his flash, but after Jensen had died, so maybe Jensen's read was, I'm dead either way, so I want to save this. Having flash for Xerath is incredibly important. You are very low mobility, but it is Dignitas back over towards the Dragon. Golden Guardians are in the area, but with no Nocturne flash, no Nocturne ult, not going to be a window to really challenge.
No, and now Dragons are split. I feel we are headed for a long game, Azael. 2 kills to 14 minutes.
Okay.
This looks like some potential reason that they did not contest the Dragon. Stixxay having to red gun flash to get the sustain back in case that last shot hit there, and indeed that is why they did not contest that Dragon. Nice little play by Jensen there to get the priority for his team, and that's kind of what we're talking about. As the game goes on, you get more and more shots. That was still only a level 6 ultimate.
Yeah.
Next level, he'll get an extra shot to just keep pelting away.
I mean, he hit everything, though. That was actually pretty damn good. Hit the Q, hit the W, hit 3 for 3 on the ulties, and the 4th one forced the R flash there from Stixxay. So that is really nice for Jensen. We'll see if he can actually keep that up.
Another adaptation in his build that we saw from Insanity is he's actually gotten Leandries instead of Ludens. I like this given the amount of kind of beef that there is. Strybaker Nocturne does end up with a decent health pool. You have, obviously, Renekton's going to have a lot. Rel's going to build tankier. And so there are a number of members where if you land that initial poke, or you can land it a couple of times, the burn will end up dealing more damage. Ludens is very good for nuking squishies, especially whether you have First Strike or Comet to, if you just can try to 100 to 0 them with just a couple spells. But in an extended siege situation, this is usually going to be higher DPS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just a trade-off, right? You are getting DPS versus burst. In different situations, the 2 items are going to be, better or worse. Also, a lot of people just really like the CDR for the Mythic passive on Leandries. That can feel really, really nice. So going to be able to have that looking to just poke and prod away as much as possible. River does secure Herald for them on the top side. And Licorice already has that top tier 1 quite low, so it would be pretty much a guaranteed kill if they did go up towards that top side. Aphelios also farmed 2 plates in mid lane, so both those turrets are actually pretty available. I would expect that River would drop at mid to just try to take away this bastion of safety for Jensen, though, on the Xerath. Don't want to allow him to farm safely.
Yeah, you even saw during that time period, Jensen had actually kind of moved down here and hovered in this part of the river as they got that push through bot side. And if you break mid turret, it becomes a lot harder for Xerath to do those kinds of half roams that you were talking about earlier, where you just set up for a potential dive by being in ult range. So if your Alistar ever goes in, you're able to find that combo. Golden Guardians, of course, was not under the turret then, as they were playing for that Rift Herald. So heads up play for them, not getting caught under there, and being able to still get back in time to protect their bot turret.
This is a little bit weird. The build from Gory, he actually was doing this as well last week on Talia, where he was going for basically 2 items at once. He was going towards Leandries as well as Seraphs at the same time. He's building Leandries and Nashers at the same time, right? And yes, you do have that Lost Chapter. We'll see who he likely going to be going down, but River's actually into the backline, pops the ulti. The TP's coming in from Licorice on the flank here. Going to be onto the back of Jensen. We'll see if he can get there. Stuns him up, chops him down, but on the other side, a massive ulti from Stixxay, AoEing them down with the Infernum, but it's actually River who has fallen. Just the 1 kill on both sides.
1 for 1 so far. Golden Guardians being a little stronger on the tail end of that fight as Tomo had gone back to base. Huhi is low though, so if they are not able to get this dragon down very quickly, it's time for Dignitas to reset onto the map. Jensen does have TP. Gories is coming up as well. I expect both teams are going to reset. Oh, Dragon's not up. I'm trolling. I thought there was a dragon fight over that. I was like, what are they fighting in the river for? It must be dragons because Huhi is in the pit.
Well, they're fighting the dragon's home,
To protect the dragon.
Exactly. Gory and Licorice on the wrong side of the map, though, and Licorice now potentially in trouble. Santorin went for Gory instead, but it's Huhi flashing in. Pops the ulti as well. Right at the Arcane, gonna get popped, though. Hui's gotta dodge as much as he can, but he can't dodge enough. He goes down, and on the other side, Licorice caught out. All of Dignitas swarm and take him down. Why were Licorice and Gory over there?
They were as confused as I was, apparently, on that behind the bot lane turret as Dignitas was respawning and getting ready there. very surprising to see them stick around that long with no objective to fight over, just vision control. And Licorice and
Was it like a vision play? What are they actually looking for? I'm kind of confused. This is way back to the initial play.
Right, and this is kind of going back to what we were talking about, the comps being a little awkward. River goes in and puts enough pressure onto Jensen to make him scared, and the rest of the team goes, great, we're going to go dive onto River, who went too far, which abandons Jensen to get annihilated by Licorice. This does, of course, allow them to kill River. Nice peel there by Poom to get all 3 out, and then this is where the tail end of the play happened, where they were pushing this turret and tried to stop the follow-up, and then there was the teleport, and Jensen's dead coming out of replay. Okay, here's the pace of the game.
Yeah, Jensen's dead, but it's Poom trying to get something back. Actually misses on the Q as Gory was able to reactively flash away, and now Santorin trying to go forward, trying to lock River down, but won't have the damage as Gory pushes him back. Golden Guardians are ramping up that pace, trying to pick on this Xerath. They got the flash from in that previous play, and they wanted to punish it.
Yeah, it's coming in, teleported in, got the kills, stayed bot lane, and one of the things Xerath is not great at is side laning, and so they do a good job of killing him underneath that turret. And with that now, as Dragon spawns, should be Golden Guardians to claim here, though. We see Rich moving down to contest this. Licorice has no
X-Flash channeling. Stixxay's in trouble. He's actually really not respecting the play. That was on Vision. The Herald saw him channeling the Hex Flash the whole time, and he took so long to walk back that Stixxay now does have to blow the flash, and that's on the Dragon spawn, so it does give the advantage over to Dignitas here. Should be their Dragon, I think. But at the same time, Licorice pushing up through top lane. Has that tier 1 knockdown. Tier 1 mid almost gone as well. Gory, defensive shuffle, but it's a flash in from Rich, and Rich is going to try to chase him down. We'll see if he can do it. He's going to go all out, and the Xerath is there with the assist. Jensen from long range snipes out another one.
During this time, Licorice still pushing up in the top side, but Dignitas get revenge, get the second Dragon. Gold lead swinging Golden Guardians' way, but objectives going for Dignitas. They also should be able to grab this bot turret. Now Tomo just has to be a little bit careful because he is alone in mid lane.
Now that is a 3K lead now. I mean, they gave up both those towers, all solo gold to Licorice. Check the gold difference. I'm actually really curious how ahead he is now.
2K almost.
Yeah, 2K up over Rich. So that is going to be a scary croc. You know, they are showcasing Jensen's ability to actually assist on some of these dives. You know, they have made a couple plays where the Xerath has looked pretty good, but this Renekton is going to be a problem now. You've let him really get out of the pace of the game. Now he has the Black Cleaver completed, so he's going for a high damage build, is on 2 items already. If he ever gets into the backline on Jensen, Jensen is just toast. There's not really much recourse that he has unless Poom is there to actually disengage.
Yeah, it's not been the cleanest of the last couple minutes, but I do like Golden Guardians picking up the pace of the game and even choosing to funnel resources into the Renekton as the dive buddy for River to have that extra threat when you do go into the back line. Having this 2-item Renekton is huge. So I do like that kind of decision, but maybe always not the cleanest in some of these plays. I'm glad to see the pace picking up, though, and the flip side to this is that Jensen, despite dying a few times, is also on 2 items with the Rylai's completed. This is something that Insanity skipped over in his build that a lot of people were critical of, because if you land that first spell, it becomes way easier to land the follow-up ultimate, and usually since you're comboing it with CC that's already come through from your tanky front line or something like that, it becomes very easy then to land the subsequent ones, even if they flash out away from your tanks. And so I really do like this version of the build that Jensen has gone for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes it way easier to hit the skill shots. Let's be honest,
bad at the game. Give me the layups, please.
Exactly. And I mean, it's the ramping damage that's coming through when you're hitting ulti after ulti after ulti that really can be game changing. But Dignitas walking up through mid, Santorin zoning off Huhi and River on the other side does secure them the tier 1. Gory got pushed up through top lane. It is Baron now on the map, so playing for Vision in this area. Both teams, I think, have okay Baron takes. You know, it's definitely much better on the Golden Guardian side when you have a high DPS marksman like Aphelios. You have that paired with the Azir. You have got to respect the fact that Golden Guardians could rush this down. For Dignitas, it's okay. You know, they have a pretty beefy front line that can tank it up, and Tomo can definitely do pretty good damage, but Xerath isn't exactly shredding it.
If Dignitas is not around, Golden Guardians can, of course, just brute force it with that speed like you're talking about. But if they are around, you do not want to start the Baron versus Xerath. That is literally shooting fish in a barrel. Please do not start that in those kinds of situations, unless you're at a man advantage and you have the turn tools available. But otherwise,
maybe
it feels
bored, you know?
Yeah, I guess. You go for it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend trying to fight dragon fights.
True. I would agree, yeah.
It is something that they do have in their back pocket. If you do get vision control, you can kind of like start it and see what they do. I just don't think the brute force is what you're looking for. You do have decent turn tools with Nocturne and maybe who he's flanking. So yeah, if you ever do want to start it to pick a fight, that's fine.
And I think at the very least, you want to play in the area and deny vision, right? You know, this ward comes over, they see it's just Poom, so now they're going to start it up. It is spotted by the blue trinket, but it is Poom now engaging onto Huhi, and they're going to TP in onto the pit. This could be problematic. River turns out the lights. They're trying to just finish the Baron. It's going to be a flip, and it is secured there by Golden Guardians. They just commit to it. Licorice in the back line may get burst down, but it's a trade for Rich on the other side, and it's Golden Guardians that walk away with the Baron. But no, Huhi's going to go in goes Gory. He's going to shuffle back too. Can Stixxay get involved as Tomo's going to go up into the ulti, trying to knock down River. River has to flash out to safety. It's Jensen letting it rip with the right of the arcane, pushing back Golden Guardians. Tomo wants to chase, but doesn't have the move speed to actually catch up. Flashing forward from Jensen, though, is going to slow him down, and now Tomo flashes forward in response as well. But that's 2 flashes, and they can't even get Stixxay. Golden Guardians walks out with the Baron alive on 3.
Oh boy, going back to why we were talking about why this is so dangerous, they have Tomo in the base. I'm pretty sure Golden Guardians were aware that this was not going to be an even fight, so they're just on full burn it down mode while Huhi basically distracts them to stop a potential smite seal from coming through. That's all fine. The decision to go over the wall and fight this, though, is when it got very dicey, and I gotta say, Jensen seemed to get a little distracted in his target selection. If he focuses down all his spells on the left side of the fight, they could have won this a little bit faster, but he starts focusing onto Stixxay and River as they start coming onto Tomo. If he maybe has this Q shooting left, they can blow Gory up and he can start focusing onto River. Very tough to decide because they were pressing onto Tomo, but at the end of the day, it ends up 2 for 2. Baron goes in favor of Golden Guardians, so a dicey call that still ends up in their favor.
I mean, they use the Nocturnal to great effect there, honestly. They turn off the lights, so Santorin has no vision in the pit. He can't actually see that Baron whatsoever. Licorice is over the wall. Yeah, he gives his life, but he stuns up and delays Santorin enough time that they can actually just secure it, so a bit of a risky call, but I think a pretty good one from Golden Guardians, and now they can look to potentially take another Dragon. They're pushing up through multiple lanes here, now down towards that bot side, but River's going to go mid. We'll be able to join up with the team with that Nocturne ulti, so they will be pushing mid, they will be pushing bot, and no one from Dignitas is actually answering the mid push right now, so Golden Guardians can kind of just bounce back and forth between these 2 waves and potentially knock down some of these turrets.
Yeah, I really like Golden Guardians kind of splitting up here. You can just have River sit there with the minions as you see him doing. And obviously, Dignitas have decent wave clear with the Xerath. They have poke if you're just going to stand around. So you want to split up a little bit, at least get into a 4-1, potentially a 1-3-1 setup. That's something that Nocturne is kind of uniquely able to do, is sit mid lane and be able to ult to side lanes. And that's exactly what they're doing here.
Oh, the ulti comes out from Santorin. Will not connect on Gory. They're trying to find some sort of a play here, but now River pushing up, and we can see Huhi channeling the Hex Flash, looking for Tomo. Will he commit forward? The Shattering Strike is there, but he's going to have to actually jump back to safety. But now, Xerath popping the ulti over the wall, actually just chunking down Stixxay. Does force the cancel as River pops the ulti defensively to get Stixxay out to safety. Golden Guardians are chunked pretty low, but I do think with no vision on the map here for Dig, it's still an easy Dragon to grab.
Yeah, nice job by Golden Guardians prior to that kind of skirmish breaking out, having vision set up, so even though it got a little scary, Dignitas don't have an easy way to contest this Dragon. They grab this one, but that does stall out the Baron push. I don't think they actually got any turrets with that, so not the biggest Baron power play. They did get the initial kill, obviously getting the Baron, but I don't think we're able to grab any other turrets. Just gets that Dragon in their favor, 2-2 in that way. And you can see why it's scary for both teams. Jensen starts pelting your AD carry. You turn the lights off on him. He goes, oh God, are they jumping on me? And ends up with everyone just disengaging.
And it's also, you just don't even know where to shoot anymore. You can't see where they're dodging. You're fully blind, right? So it is definitely very annoying for them. Stixxay up very far here, though. Does actually have to roam as Tomo is going to try to go forward, but now Santorin is behind Stixxay, and I think Stixxay will just have to give up his life. He's going to be able to flash out away from the Arctic Assault there from Santorin, but again, Stixxay positioning really far forward in a couple of these situations. Has not died yet this game, but it does cost him the Gale Force and the Flash, and that at least gives Dignitas a potential in to try to focus someone down, to try to look for a pick here, and maybe get a way back into this game.
Yeah, I think you can see another good attempt there. Stixxay has been jumped on a handful of times, I gotta say. Some of them look like his fault, but he hasn't died yet. He's done a very good job of having his Gale Force up to get away from Tomo after the Flash is on top of him, and kind of baiting a lot of the resources getting spent on the immobile AD carry, and it's one of the things he's done a very good job making sure he doesn't actually drop thus far. Now, 5,000 gold lead for Golden Guardians, starting to feel pretty good. Making sure that Dignitas was not on Soul Point, so in the next 5 minutes you can suddenly potentially lose the game because Infernal Soul plus Xerath, very annoying. That little bit of extra burst on every single poke becomes frustrating to deal with.
Yeah, it's absolutely problematic to deal with. And I think Golden Guardians, though, with their lead, with the pace of the game, they're still happy because they still have some really good scaling here with the Aphelios, with the Azir. And I do think, with all the CDR that's actually being bought up by River, it's going to cause a lot of problems for Dignitas. if he has his ulti for every single fight, it's just hard for Jensen to actually participate. Even if he's not getting ulted, just turning out the lights makes these skill shots impossible to really do anything with. And Xerath plays so far back that you never really get proximity vision unless you're the one dying.
If you like blue trinket him first, turn the lights off, then ult, it's kind of like how you have to do it. It is possible given that you kind of see where the ults are coming from, but it is still a lot of resources to deal with Jensen. It's also 6 seconds on Darkness, 10 seconds of uptime on Jensen's ultimate, so if you don't time it super well either...
Oh, flash for flash there, traded out from Gory. The lights are turned off, and Licorice looking for the back line. Can't actually get in, but now River's going to dive deep onto Tomo. The ulti's going to be traded out. Huhi diving in onto him. It does force the flash and the cleanse out of Tomo. Dignitas will retreat and will survive for now, but it's Huhi in trouble potentially to these ultis from Jensen. They're trying to push forward, though, and actually push Jensen back, but he gets a kill, and now they grab it second. Huhi's down as well. River going for it. Will finish off Tomo, but it's Santorin and Poom in pursuit, will not be able to get the kill. Jensen does get 2, but at the end of the day, it is the 2-for-2 trade, and it's the better kills that go to Golden Guardians as they got the AD and they got the top laner.
Yeah, they have a lot of damage still up to burn this Baron down if they want to start it and kind of force a second time here. River and Stixxay should be enough and force Dignitas to walk forward and contest this. Santorin's still around and Jensen is as well. So they have to be a little careful, but Licorice just pops his ult again.
It's going down relatively quick here, though. Jensen has got to start landing this poke very fast, but he's not going to be able to do it, and there's the root coming through from Stixxay, stepping forward, pushing Jensen out. Licorice has the Sterak's popped, and that is going to be enough to secure it for Golden Guardians. Just pops the ulti early, uses the Sterak's, buys the time for River to secure it.
Really nicely played there by Golden Guardians. Got a little over-aggressive in pushing Dignitas back around the mid lane, but with so many members still left alive and the immense Baron threat that their composition has, they're able to secure that one very easily here. 6,000 gold lead, another play in Golden Guardians' favor. Here's that mid lane skirmish, and this was a really nice front-to-back team fight out of Dignitas initially. They go in, they force some cooldowns out. Licorice is on the flank. They all peel back to deal with him. Huhi tries to land this engage. They then deal with him. They force everyone back, and Golden Guardians just step a little bit too far forward to deal with Jensen's ultimate here. Gory is in poke range, and Rich sees his opportunity after the root lands by Tomo to flash ult Gory in as well, but the last second ult again, pushing Tomo forward, making sure he can kill him. Apparently Gory is best at his ults when he's dying. And that was kind of what, again, saved the fight there, because otherwise it would have been a 2-for-0 for Dignitas.
Yeah, the ultis really ramp up when you're in the gray screen, you know?
He's a gray screen gamer.
That's where he really does his best work on the Azir from the grave. But Golden Guardians now again pushing through multiple lanes, this time through 3 lanes as Licorice pushing in top. You can see that top lane inhibitor tower is already really, really low. River now playing through bot, and it's a 3-man squad from Golden Guardians pushing up here through mid. Dignitas moving down towards River, trying to actually push him back. But Rich is going to have to answer Renekton up on the top side, who is going to be a tough beast to deal with. Has the 3 items completed, has the stopwatch as well, and I think he can just walk up and potentially finish this tower off. So Dignitas sending multiple members up there, trying to stop that from happening. But they're getting kind of pulled apart here through all of these different lanes. If Golden Guardians can actually sync up the waves, they can absolutely knock down these turrets.
Yeah, this is that 1-3-1 step that we're kind of talking about. With Gory dropping his River in mid, you have River himself in bot lane, so you're dropping his turret in mid, River going bot, and then you have Licorice up on the top side. Makes it so Jensen can only really clear one of these waves, and Gory is able to move up to Licorice, break that top turret, while keeping pressure in all 3 lanes simultaneously.
And they're doing actually a really interesting setup, because the 1-3-1 has turned into like a 2-2-1, right? Where they're actually playing with just their jungler down bot, both their soul laners in top, and their bot lane is playing through mid, and now they've cracked another inhibitor tower. The ulti's gonna get popped here from River. He's trying to get in there to help Licorice, who pops the stopwatch, but the feathers are down, and Licorice could be in trouble. Santorin trying to step up to try to finish him off, can't do it, and it's Xayah who falls on the other side. Golden Guardians on the march, and I think they've done it for game number 1. Golden Guardians marching on the Nexus. Can Dignitas do anything about it? The ulti's gonna be popped here by Xerath, but he can't get any kills. The towers are falling. Stixxay flashes forward, takes down Rich, and Golden Guardians have done it. They're gonna take the lead in this series, 1-0.
Very hard-fought first game there from Golden Guardians. Dignitas were doing their best to scrap them out, but play after play after play, chipping out an advantage for themselves until this final push. Stixxay, monstrous ultimate there to actually kill Xayah from super long range as Tomo was trying to get back to the base. And once that was down, there's just not enough DPS threat from Xerath alone. Golden Guardians run through the base there. Stixxay 2-0-4 despite some dicey positioning at points in time, always staying alive despite all the skill shots coming his way. Gory having some big ultimates. Here you'll see again as the lights turn off because K'Sante is jumping on River. In the top side of the fight, Stixxay with these lights off is going to land a green gun ultimate onto all the members here. And Xayah starts getting low, gets hit with this ability, dropped low, the ult comes in, gets another auto attack off, and just was able to pelt him from so far away.
Crazy. He was at 50% health.
500 damage, green gun
screens away.
200 years, baby, it's still alive.
Oh my God, man. Yeah, Stixxay, great ulti there, finishing him off. I saw him go down, and I was just like, where did that come from? Because I saw the one hit from the green gun snipe, but it was also the Chakrams followed up, and we were able to finish him off. You know, Rich was engaging hard onto River to try to stop him from ulting in, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. Golden Guardians take game number 1. And Viva la LCS! LCS en Español is the official Spanish language stream of the LCS. This new viewing experience is live on LLA's Twitch and YouTube channels right now. Scan the QR code or go to lolesports.com to learn more. Let's head on over to the LCS Lounge to break that one down.
Woo, I was worried. First, like, 10 minutes of the game, 8 minutes of the game, I was like, oh, this is a slow one.
Yeah, it was slow until it wasn't.
Yep.
I'm actually really curious because it was pretty even initially. I love my gold graphs.
Oh, look at them gold graphs.
So yeah, there wasn't a lot of like turnover in terms of gold, but you can see where the initial leads from Golden Guardians came. I was actually curious about the Xerath damage numbers, but what I should have been curious about was the Azir damage number.
Damage number is pretty nice. It's pretty good. He had a lot of front line to hit, which is fair enough. And another thing is also, I thought Nocturne's life was going to be a little difficult. Sure, you have Xerath as a focus, but like against Xayah or Alistar or Sejuani, there was one time where he went into Xayah, Xayah ulted, he like pivoted away from the feathers and then re-engaged. I was like, okay, man. Like the trials you have to make were impressive.
Well, on the other side, you and I were kind of going back and forth about the Xerath, right? Because we're like, okay, Xerath in this comp, if Jensen doesn't have fancy feet, kind of who's protecting him, right? In fairness, I thought both comps are a little bit disjointed from themselves in places. But the big thing was they were able to get on to the Xerath, whether it was separating team fights with the Azir, whether it was just jumping on to his head with Nocturne. And that was a massive difference maker because even when Jensen was able to put out damage, they weren't able to follow up on it.
Speaking of difference maker, the Grubhub dub.
Let's
go straight into it. It is Gory. Azale said it properly. It always feels like he's putting in his best work beyond the grave. The final, my last breath is just a sweep.
Yeah, and they talked about how this did initially look good for Dig, right? Because the Licorice flank is kind of stymied. Who he tries to go in doesn't really get anything, and Dig stays safe. They're able to pop Huhi with the Xerath.
Yeah.
Xerath is so stupid. But then, yeah, Gory, as he dies, his last dying breath, is able to sweep, separate the team fight up. River is able to get that kill. And honestly, like, jokes aside, we talked about how Gory was going to have to be a big part of GG's win. We talked about how important he is to this team. And I thought his Azir performance was quite good, especially in the face of a tough counterpick like the Xerath.
Yeah, Azale mentioned it. I felt like it was the better trade, it felt like. So it turned into a Baron, which turned into a bigger lead. And so it seems like Golden Guardians are able to find those small bits and pieces to come out with a bigger win. And with that being said, with the LCS Championship just a week away, don't go into finals weekends hungry. Use LCS code, the LCS Summer, for $10 off your delivery order of $15 or more for new diners only. Terms apply. So, you know what? If you have a delivery driver as dedicated to his craft as Gory, you're going to be happy. So, good job.
Your food's making it just barely, but then the delivery driver eats it?
No matter what! No!
I was trying to find a real-life example.
The real-life example is by no matter what, rain or earthquake, I'm making it to your house.
That Grubhub delivery driver is getting to your door.
I'm interested if Dignitas can fight back, though. We'll see it after this break. See if we get a new creative draft.
Yeah. I like the Xerath, honestly. I think Xerath and Azir is good.
Gory and Licorice on the wrong side of the map, though, and Licorice now potentially in trouble. Santorin went for Gory instead, but it's Huhi flashing in. Pops the ulti as well. Right to the Arcane, gonna get popped, though. Hui's gotta dodge as much as he can, but he can't dodge enough. He goes down, and on the other side, Licorice caught out. I think they've done it for game number 1. Golden Guardians marching on the Nexus. Can Dignitas do anything about it? The ulti's going to be popped here by Xerath, but he can't get any kills. The towers are falling. Stixxay flashes forward, takes down Rich, and Golden Guardians have done it. They're going to take the lead in this series.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.